right, your Cleveland Guardians are going to be hosting the San Francisco Giants. R.I.P. Willie Mays. Next Friday, July 5th. It's a 7:10 pitch at Progressive Field, and you can be there. Make sure you have that MLB Ballpark app. Whether you go to one game or a bunch, it's pretty invaluable to have on your phone. Tickets and info and all that stuff. You can download on that app there. So I've got 4 tickets for you for next Friday night. Guardians, Giants at Progressive Field. Good luck. Call 216-578-1007 or 800-348-1007.
The poor air quality.
Oh, the air quality is bad?
It's bad.
That's been a complaint about this thing for a decade.
The more exposure folks have,
The Alan Cox Show
the more likely it is that they'll be sick.
on 100.7 WMMS.
Night skies finish last. You're running out of gas. Your sympathy will get you left behind. Times you're at your best. When you feel the worst, you feel washed up like the train. Pressure cooker, bang my brain and tell.
I always said this was an underrated Green Day song. Nice Guys Finish Last. Off of Nimrod, I think. Yeah. Of course, they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And
Well, this whole album was overshadowed by Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, because that was such a massive hit for them.
yes.
That all the other songs on it, which this is a phenomenal album.
Yeah.
But that song was just so popular.
It was a supernova song, man.
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, it's still the song that launched 1,000 proms and high school graduations.
Yeah.
Our 8th grade, farewell,
Everybody says a great farewell.
our 8th grade farewell, assembly. One of the science teachers got up. Mr. Zarilla, starts with a D. D-Z-U. He got up and played Good Riddance on with the guitar. I hope you had that time.
no.
He sang it to us. I'll never forget
I hope
that.
you had the time of your life.
He was pretty cool. He was like a lanky dude. He wasn't very cute,
Better at the guitar than the singing, probably.
but he was like a dorky science teacher. And then I remember all the girls were like, he's kind of hot. After he played the guitar and
That's why
sang.
dudes start playing the
Yes.
guitar. Man. That's all it takes.
Little 14-year-old girls, though.
Girls can be
All it
tricky.
takes.
Yeah.
I remember when I've talked before about when I first moved to Kalamazoo, Michigan, I got fixed up with a girl just because she was at Western Michigan University. She was in the aviation school. And we got fixed up by a mutual friend just because we were both from Chicago, right? I was new to town, didn't know anybody. She was also from Chicago. They go, oh, yeah. This was the girl who had a twin.
Oh.
And this twin, sister of hers, at the time, was the most vile human being I had ever met. She could not have been.
The evil twin.
She could not. They looked exactly alike.
Bort.
Did one of them have a no? Bort's not.
Bort's not the evil twin?
No, it
No.
was just a
What's his name?
Hugo.
Hugo.
yeah.
Oh,
Hugo,
you're right,
yeah.
You're right.
He's in the attic,
Yes.
Yeah. They feed him fish heads.
and
But Bart was actually the evil one.
Right.
so I was dating this girl. She had a twin sister who was just terrible, terrible. And her sister didn't like me. I didn't like her. But because it was a locally owned radio station, the general manager had this big party at his house every year. He had a big house. He had all the staff there. And because there were enough musicians on staff, he goes, people should bring their gear, and then we'll just have a house band in my
jam
house.
session.
A little jam session. So my program director played the guitar, the midday girl played the bass, I played the drums. And so for whatever reason, she brought her sister. And her sister told me later that night that she goes, well, Alan playing those drums, that was hot. That's all it takes. It's why people pick up.
She hated you, but
Yes.
then you played the drums all right.
It's all it takes.
Yeah.
I wasn't any better looking
Yeah.
I looked exactly the same. That's all it took. You put somebody behind an instrument and something happens.
Or if you just showed that you're good at something.
Okay.
There's a lot
You don't
of
even
that.
have to be good at it. Even if you're just learning an
helps.
instrument. Well, it helps to be good at
Yeah.
anything. But I mean, even in the beginning days of learning something, people who don't have any musical acumen or don't play an instrument, I don't know why, but I'm always kind of surprised when I meet somebody who's never played an instrument.
I'm terrible. I have no musical abilities at all. I can't
Really?
sing. Instruments
You never
are
even
foreign
tried to like
me.
learn to play guitar or anything?
I've played Guitar Hero is the closest I've ever come to playing an instrument.
You
Like
can play Guitar Hero. You can learn to play guitar. It's not that hard.
it's one of those things where I'm like, I also have a complex where if I
You
don't
aren't good at it right away.
if I
you
don't pick
wanna,
something
yeah.
up immediately, then I don't really
Oh, well,
have
that's
an interest
ridiculous.
in doing it. I know.
Most things you're not good at right away.
That's not true. I'm good at a lot of things pretty quickly,
Yeah, but a musical instrument requires a lot of practice.
which is something I am not ready to do.
Oh.
I'm not dedicated enough.
It might be a good hobby.
Wait,
for
so
you.
anything you're not good at right away, you don't stick with it?
99% of the time.
But
Yeah.
you're a stand-up comedian.
I thought I was I quit school after my second time on stage because I was convinced I was going to be famous.
But this is what I'm saying. We know that, but then like as what usually happens, you'll like bomb for a year.
But that didn't happen before I quit school. I didn't bomb until I had already dropped out of school and moved back home.
No, understood. But then you spend that year going, "Oh no."
Well, because I had no other choice at that point.
I
I
see.
was like, I'm either a
Out
bartender
of
forever
desperation.
or I learn how to get good at this, you know?
Yeah.
When Brian and I first started dating and he told me he played the drums, and I've never been, I mean, I think it's hot when you have a talent. Sure, I care if you care about something. I like, it could be anything though. If you love bowling or you love playing darts or you love being a drummer, that's great. So when Brian, like I came over his house and he like played the drums for me the first time, I think he was expecting a much bigger like, oh my God, that's so sexy reaction. But I was like, I've never just heard the drums until he played it. And it was very loud. And it was very hard to determine what I was listening to.
Drums are not a panty dropper.
No.
A guitar,
Yes.
it's simple.
There's a melody.
Well, you can play it acoustically. If it's electric, you plug it in and it's right there.
Yeah.
You can play a song that they know.
Yes.
Drums, you have to love playing the drums because you're not going to impress anybody other than other drummers.
But if you're at a show and you're
That's
playing
different.
along, that's a different thing.
Well, that's because you're
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the band.
You can hear the whole song.
Yes.
So when he like played the drums for me the first time, and I was kind of like, this is really loud. Like I wasn't like, oh my swoon, that's amazing. I was like, this is really loud, and I'm glad that you love it. But I'd be fine if I never heard it again.
Yeah. Especially the music he's playing.
He's playing metal
He's
music.
playing death metal, yeah.
So that's the other things that I'm
But
like,
he's got. I assume he's got jazz chops and things like that. I mean,
I'm sure that
is
he
he
does.
self-taught?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, you skip a lot when you're self-taught. I mean, I taught myself for like the first couple years, and then I started taking lessons like when I was 12.
Yeah.
But by that time, I'd kind of developed my own rudiments. But if you only play one kind of music on
Well-
any instrument, that's extremely limiting.
I'm sure he can and has played other kinds of music.
Yeah.
But my point is, when you say that's all it takes is to play an instrument, I don't think that's the truth. I mean, Dick played the mandolin for me, and it didn't do anything. I mean,
Well,
shut
you're
up. Yes, it
50
did.
years
You
younger
called
than
that
he
beautiful
is,
thing.
too. There's nothing that guy was going to do that was going to get you all worked
so I'm
up.
saying I think it might depend on the instrument, you know,
I think and how
and the
good they
skill
are at
level,
it. Yeah.
and if they're already hot to begin
All right,
with.
let's put Mary to the test then. If you're watching at AlanCoxShow.com, just focus on her, and let's see here if her pupils dilate, if
Okay,
she
I'm
breaks
ready.
out into a
Hold on.
sweat.
Let me see it. Let's see that beautiful thing. Wow.
That's when you knew.
I did. Give us a little something.
The weather.
The weather. That's my favorite part of this whole thing. The weather.
Nothing's hotter than making excuses for your instrument.
Let me tell you a story about a man named Charlie on the playground.
Better or worse than your 8th grade science teacher playing Green Day?
Worse.
Oh,
Surprisingly.
all right.
Surprisingly worse.
Will he ever return? Will he ever return? And his face is on yours.
It's like a child playing the ukulele, like
Yes.
just
Yeah.
playing along with the lyrics,
And then
strumming
I'm-
with it.
I'm also like, he could have made this whole song up.
Right.
Yeah. This honestly
idea.
reminds me more of like the little girl that goes, "I want to see your butthole." Have you ever seen that viral video where it's just like a little girl playing a toy guitar and just singing about a butthole? That's
that's an old one,
Yeah,
right?
it's an old one, yeah. My girlfriend's a very good singer, and whenever she sings, like we'll go to karaoke and she'll sing, and like I love watching people's reaction as they're like, "Oh, this person's good."
Mhm.
Like that is definitely a turn on.
What about when Dick played saxophone for us? Did that do anything for you?
Better than mandolin.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Well, it's not always going to turn you on. Did that do anything for you?
Nope.
Nothing?
911 emergency.
Help me, please. I crashed my flying machine. Ah.
Piano's a big one for me. Like watching somebody that's really good at piano makes me like I'm very impressed by it, but I'm also just like incredibly jealous, especially when it's someone that's just like, "What's that song?" And they just like
They just start doing
and they
it,
just
yeah.
know and they just know how to do it.
I
It's
grew
a
up.
different part of your brain.
I grew
man.
up with a
Yeah.
piano in my house. And
too.
I didn't like pick up. My dad played guitar and piano, and my dad, by any measure, was not a guy who was largely like moved by music.
Yeah.
But he was a real good guitar player, played piano. Piano was one that I just never, I think it's got a call to you, right? Like
Yeah.
my
Well-
son plays the saxophone, my brother played the bass, my daughter taught herself to play the guitar and the piano and all that. You know, it's got a call to you. You have to want to really immerse yourself in it. So for people who are like, "Oh, I didn't pick it up on day one."
I've never even had fun trying.
Well,
I
that's the
took
thing,
piano
though. If you don't
lessons.
want to do it,
Yeah.
you shouldn't do it.
Well, because I feel like you can not be good at something, but enjoy it. Where you're like, oh, this is something
fun,
I
yeah.
want to learn to be good at because it seems fun and I'm interested in it. Every instrument I've ever touched, I've been like, this isn't.
Well, and for me, I
want
kind of
this.
had a flair for the drums. So if I had to really, really work at it, I mean, I did. I mean, you take lessons and you learn how to do things you didn't know how to do before. But if I had started with like dragging myself down to the
Yeah.
basement to practice,
Right.
that's a whole other thing. I don't think anybody should be doing anything like that
Yeah.
because it's expensive to play an instrument,
Yeah.
right?
But it is fun, and there is an engage like guitar. It's so fun to just like pick it up every once in a while, and I need like I'll go through phases where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get good again, and then I'll play it for like a month, and then I put it down, and then don't pick it up for 2 years. But it's piano was the one where we had one in my house, and even when I was in the Philippines, I would play on the pianos at the churches that we'd go to, but I could get my right hand pretty good, but then as soon as you have to use two hands, it's a whole nother ball game, and my brain would just go haywire.
And then your feet.
Yeah, and then you get the feet.
Your
Yeah,
little
like
pedal-
I
whatever the pedals
I didn't
do.
even
I don't
think
know
about
what
the
they
feet.
do,
I was like,
but
I'll get the feet one of
They
these.
do something.
But I was trying to like trying to play with two hands is a feat all in of itself.
Yeah, it is. Alan, my husband and I are both professional musicians. If either of us are playing, the other gets immediately turned on. It's true. Well, yeah, but you're both musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And again, drums, you can't pick out a melody. You don't even know
It's
what the
very
hell's going on.
difficult, and-
Even if you know the song they're playing, it's
Yeah.
less fun than when the whole band is, you're
I've-
like, oh, I got it's Ride the Lightning. Okay.
I've never seen Brian play in a band. I've never seen him like perform.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that would send me over the edge.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
When you're on a stage
yes.
or when,
and people are enjoying it.
Yeah.
And he's got that skinny little tattooed drummer body, so he'd take his shirt off in my fantasy.
In
he
your
has
brain,
his
he
shirt
would
off
take-
and he's
yeah.
all sweaty and he's going at it. That I'm sure would be like, get in the car. But to just be in your jam room listening to you make noise on a drum
Yeah.
set is a little bit more difficult.
Yep.
Hey guys, hate the show, podcast listener here. I'm listening to the best of on one of the days you played this week, and I heard Michael Rappaport, which begs the question, who did you interview that maybe you didn't think you liked as a personality, but turned out to be a good interview or seemed to be a good guy? That was Michael Rappaport for me. Who would that be for you that maybe you've had on the show? Hate you, love me, I don't know. See ya.
I liked Rappaport. I know there's a lot of people don't
He's
like
a
Michael
crazy
Rappaport.
person.
Well, because he kind of really puts a lot of that on. But I didn't know what to expect, obviously, when we had him in. I think the worst thing, I've interviewed so many people over the course of my career, I can't remember everybody. But, I mean, just going, if I were to go through my phone over the past 5 years on this show, I guarantee there would be people I do not remember interviewing who've been on this show. But for I think
What's
back to
his
like,
question? Someone you thought would suck and they're better?
yeah,
Okay.
I think more about guests I just couldn't lock in with. Like a couple of months ago, I was going to have Billy D. Williams on the show, played Lando Calrissian, and he was, and I talked to him. It was something that I was recording, and I was going to play that day's show. And I just could not lock in with him at all, and I never aired it. Because I was like, there's nothing there. I just couldn't lock in with him. I've talked to Johnny Rotten a handful of times over the years, and it's like, that guy, you don't know who you're going to get. You're either going to get Johnny Rotten or you're going to get John Lydon, or you don't know who you're going to get. So, I don't know. Some people's reputations precede them, but I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you go, oh, I know who this person is, and that's how it's going to be. Because you never know.
Yeah.
Rappaport was great. I thought there was a thought in my mind. I was like, oh, he could come in here with a big
Guns
chip on his shoulder.
blazing.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
big chip on his shoulder or whatever. But it wasn't like that. Jeremy Renner. That's a guy that a lot of people said he had a chip on his shoulder. And I had him on years ago. Not here in Cleveland, but. And he was great. Very nice guy. But,
Jeremy Renner. Who's the author?
That's James Renner.
James
That's our friend
Renner.
James
Okay,
Renner.
I was like,
the
there's
true crime
somebody
author.
who's a
Jeremy
friend.
Renner is he
He's
was
the guy
in
who got-
Mission Impossible.
yes.
He got run over by the
Yes,
snowcat.
yes.
He's Hawkeye in the superhero movies.
I
and
get those two confused.
He was Dahmer back in the day. Yeah, no, the rap on Renner was that he was one of these guys who I don't know. I'm sure he's changed a lot since that accident too, but I mean,
Well, he's even saying like
it was many years ago that I
he's
talked
like,
to him.
I'm not up for any challenging roles anymore. He's like, I don't want to do any challenging roles. I'm good. Just give me some cupcakes. I can make some money and just be the guy that just goes, bring him to me.
Trying to live his life.
Yeah.
Sits behind a desk.
I get that. But yeah, I don't know that there's anybody who jumps to mind that I thought was going to be a jag-off and wasn't. It's usually the other way around. You just can't lock in with somebody. Like you just don't vibe with them. It's not their fault. It's not yours. It's just like they can't. Some people just do interviews to promote what they're promoting, which is what they all are. But if they're all business, that's a hard thing to go about because then you're just like, okay. Like Matt Damon. I had Matt Damon on in Chicago. And I was like, okay, this guy is going to be X.
Yeah.
And he was Y. He couldn't have been, he was game, he was fun, he was there to like play around. But,
I think what came to my mind is when we had Adriana Iapolucci in here.
she hated my guts.
She was
Didn't want to be
open
here.
about how much she didn't like you
Yeah.
guys.
And I was a fan. The only reason I'm like, nobody knows who you are. I'm trying to sell tickets for you. I think you're funny. Yeah. She couldn't have cared less.
The first thing she says when she walked in, she looked at you and Bill and goes, why do you guys have the same haircut? I was like, damn, bitch. Like, we're starting
And I didn't know
there.
what she was talking about. Yeah. I was like, but again, I thought she was goofing around, right?
No.
She's a comedian.
Yeah.
But yeah, she did not want to be there.
What's really
And
funny.
I'm like, dude, you're not doing me a favor.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you sell tickets because nobody knows who you are. If you're not a comedian.
I've heard really crusty things about her.
Which is
just
fine.
going,
Well, that's like-
to like different comedy clubs where they're just like, we're not having you back because
That's her. I mean, from everything I've heard, that's kind of her vibe.
Yeah.
Is that she's just like, I'm good at what I do. I don't really care if people like me.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you're good at what you do if nobody comes to see you do it.
Yeah.
And if the clubs don't want to have you back because you were
Right.
miserable to deal with.
But she also
You can be hilarious in your living room, and who cares?
She also makes a ton of money opening for huge names. So I don't know that she cares. To be 100% honest with you, I really don't think she gives two craps.
Cool.
Well, then that means that that headliners feel comfortable not getting smoked by her.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can cash the checks.
Yeah.
But first of all, that's got nothing to do with me.
Sure, I agree.
Right? You're not on the Burt University friggin' Hall of Fame show.
Yeah.
Doing hilarities.
Yeah.
I don't need you here. I'm trying to hang out and get to know you. So yeah, she did not want to be here, boy.
But I'm saying the opposite way, where you're like kind of excited and you thought she was funny.
Yes.
And she came in here and was like, F you.
Right. And it doesn't make her any less funny. I still think she's
not at
funny.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, she's very funny. But we did not groove. I got a break here. Want to send me a text for anything? 35192. You can listen anywhere you are on the iHeartRadio app.